morning, Unity of Charlotte. You are here in full force. Let's hear a round of applause for how wonderful it is to be in person. Very good, bright, shiny faces on this beautiful morning. So we start by remembering our mission. And our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And I'm sure that sounds familiar to you because for the most part, most of you were involved in designing that. And it remains true today. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. And sometimes I think that the service is the most instrumental part of growing. And here you are, fully present and also of service today as we meet in person. I'm Reverend Pat Dray, and I'm glad that you're here joining us both in our sanctuary and also on YouTube or Zoom. So I would like to have you join with me in saying our statement of oneness, and then that will lead us into our opening prayer. There is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, good omnipotence. And today's prayer is from the Daily Word, rest. So as we enter into this, take a deep breath and let it go. For it is in this breathing in and breathing out that we become centered and receptive. And the word rest is so important. In the stillness of God's peace, I rest. Far from the luxury or indulgence, rest is an integral part of my life. Periods of rest help my body recoup from its toil and give my mind time and space to settle from stimulation and effort. My soul responds to my restful interludes by sinking deeply into the awareness of my oneness with God. In times of meditative stillness, I touch eternity and discern an absolute truth beyond my daily life. Any day or time can be Sabbath. I keep this time holy by bringing the awareness of God into my heart and soul. I'm grateful for my restful interludes, and I cherish the moments I can bless my mind and body with wholehearted, intentional rest. In the Bible quote, "So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation." That's from Genesis. So breathing in and letting it go, join me again to be together, to celebrate this day. And we are so welcoming of you. I hope your lives are just going great and that you're really enjoying the freedoms that come with where we are in life right now with some of the scientific breakthroughs that were surely helped along on by the spiritual plane. On the issue of prayer, which is so near and dear to my heart, I want you to remember that we're always here for you, to conduct prayer for you. And so the best way to do that is to go to the link at the website and click on the prayer icon. and it immediately goes to the people who do the prayers, and we are in your corner praying for you and knowing that your dreams are being manifested into your experience. And you can also call the Unity Telephone Prayer Ministry, Silent Unity, at 800-NOW-PRAY. And now for our announcements. I'm pleased to say that next week, the book club will meet at 11 o'clock right after service. Our Unity Men's Group meets here at the church on the second and fourth Wednesdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. The Affirmative Prayer and Meditation Group meets Tuesday evenings at 7:15, where we set a prayerful energy for the church, the city, and the world, and it's facilitated by Barbara Rolfe. And on Wednesdays, we have a dialogue service, which is based on the Path of Initiation with Lucille Cedarcrans, and that is from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. We mentioned that the book club is meeting next week at 11. The Course in Miracles meets on Thursday morning at 9:30. And 2 weeks from today, we have a wonderful town hall meeting, which will be focused on our mission-centric vision. And I think you're going to be really interested in that and find it very lively, because there's going to be some very nice participation, some sharing on a very interesting topic. So please join us 2 weeks from now. All of these announcements, of course, are at our website, and also you should be receiving an email Thursdays, usually Thursdays, sometimes on Fridays, which is a full announcement of all the things that are going on at the church and who the speaker is for the Sunday. And if for any reason you're not seeing that email, I would really like you to go to either Alan or me and tell us, so that we can, we had all of the emails in there, but if your email has changed or some other glitch has occurred, we'd like to get you back on our mailing list. So we're eager to hear from you. Those are our announcements, and we're very pleased to have this group here today. I want to now tell you about our speaker today. You actually know him, and many of you know him very well, because this is not his first tour of duty here with the Unity of Charlotte, as so to speak. So our very own Fred Monroe is speaking to us today. Lessons from Curly. Could there be some humor in today's presentation? Probably, knowing Fred. He has had a wonderful career in the armed forces, and I did learn recently that he served at one point in time at the same Air Force base that Alan Batten did, but at a different time. So Alan was less entertained than he would have been otherwise. We do know that Fred has a long time experience and a great loyalty to Unity in general, and has been at many Unity churches nationwide. He recently rejoined us even before he moved back. Now, I call that loyalty. When somebody, they know sometime in the future they're going to be back, so they join early so they don't miss a beat. And here I am to introduce our, and I do call you beloved already, yes, Fred, our own beloved Fred Monroe on Lessons from Curly. Give him a warm welcome.
Well, Pat told you everything about me, just about. I was going to spend 25 minutes telling you all about me, so I have to cut it down now a little bit. Let's see that first picture. There's where I'm from. I was born and raised about 30 miles east of that mountain called Mount Jefferson. It gives my county the name Jefferson County, Oregon. There are a couple things to say about that. I spent a lot of time up that little canyon enjoying everything. One thing to know about is that the land you see on the right side, carefully framed, is another nation. It's not the nation of the United States. It's the nation of the Confederated Warm Springs tribes of Native Americans, the Wascos, the Umatillas, etc. So there you're looking at a picture of Oregon. I was born in 42. I'm an Eagle Scout. My father turned me into a railway laborer. I learned a lot about track, railroad track, straight track, level track, all kinds of track. I recently just rode the Empire Builder from Chicago to Portland, Oregon, and it shook the daylights out of me right and left. Oh boy, my father told me their track was no good, and was he ever right? You talk about infrastructure. We've got some work to do with those tracks, especially if a human being is going to ride those tracks at 79 miles an hour. Those tracks aren't qualified for 50 miles an hour east of Shelby, Montana. Now, west of Shelby, Montana, I'll give it a little more. I'll let you go 50 there, but that's it. Don't ride the train without talking to me first, please, for your own happiness. I graduated from Oregon State University with a BS degree in chemistry and a co-major in United States Air Force. Now, the reason for the Air Force deal was so I wouldn't get drafted, right? Anyway, I joined the Air Force. I became an Air Force chemist, and I supervised the Air Force lubrications laboratory. I was the guy that analyzed the oil drops that dropped out of the bottom of the airplanes, and I could tell generals, no, you're not flying today because you didn't take the sample very well usually. You know, if you hold a cup under there and take a sample right away, you get all the gunk in the bottom. Let it run a little bit and then send me a good sample. So they did that, and I usually could tell them that they could fly their airplanes. We saved some F-100s in Florida one time because the copper got high. I knew there was something brass was wearing out in that airplane. I was also an air traffic controller and the simulations chief and the mobility officer at the Washington State Air National Guard for about 5 years. Air traffic controller, I call it. We were called weapons controller, authorized. I'm not happy about this. I've been trying to make up for this. Authorized to release weapons. Anyhow, I retired as a major in 1982. Then I became an air pollution control officer in Lewis County, state of Washington. And then I went to Washington State and got an MS degree in environmental and sanitary and wastewater engineering, all wound up together. They didn't know what to call a degree in those days exactly. Also, I minored in statistics, which explains one of my hobbies I'll talk about in a minute. I've been a quality assurance manager in textile printing and electroplating. I was a security officer in Roanoke and in Charlotte at Carolina Place Mall in South Park. The most fun I had was for 7 years, I operated the zoo train up in Roanoke, Virginia. 24-inch track. When I saw that track, oh my gosh, I could see things that needed to be fixed. One time the train jumped the track just before I went into its tunnel, and that engine pulled the whole train all the way around. I couldn't believe it. What a strong piece of equipment that baby was. I had a lot of fun with the zoo train. You could get, in 7 years, you could get acquainted with people. You know, the granddaddies would bring their cute little kids, and they always wanted to sit up front. 2 years later, those kids had grown up and become so sophisticated that they wanted to sit in the back. So I had a lot of fun playing with kids. All right, enough of that, I guess. My unity history. I am a unitic. I haven't heard that phrase too much around here lately. I decided to pray about my spiritual experiences. They didn't seem to amount to too much. And after I prayed and had asked for my spiritual life to get going, within about 3 days, an announcement came in the mail that offered a workshop at Unity of Boise, which was just being formed, and I went and I loved it. After being a charter member at Unity of Boise, I was moved to Unity of Palm Beach in Florida, and I was a mastermind leader there. The attendance averaged 25 to 30 people, and I did that for 2 years. Then I came to Unity of Charlotte and was a mastermind leader here. Then I moved to Unity of Roanoke and was a bookstore assistant, 7 years. Then back to Unity of Charlotte. So I claim to be a member of Unity of Charlotte since 1981. Now that's 40 years. I don't know if that impresses young folks, but it means a lot to me. More about the good old days some other time, right? I have visited many other Unity centers, Mills River, that would be Asheville area, Boston, Cottonwood, Arizona, Sedona, Arizona, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina, and many other places. That was one of my hobbies, was to collect attendance at different Unity centers for a while. Now, personal, my current hobbies, stock market investing. I'm really interested in stock market investing, and I've had wonderful success in my opinion. Yes, it goes up and down. All right, it sure does. I have been a real estate assistant. I'm now retired, I hope. We'll see about that. I like to read fiction, and I've come to believe that all is fiction. Everything. Now, hold it. That's a good thing. I like fiction. Now, it used to be I wouldn't read any fiction. I was too technical to read fiction, right? I'm a member of 2 book clubs right now. I'm a member of American Legion and Matthews, and I attend 2 groups of men who reminisce mostly, talk about what's going on. But the point I want to make about these men's groups that I go to, 5 of the men have told me that Unity was the biggest thing in their whole life, that really helped them out and made them feel good and feel like they were getting along. One more perhaps minor detail, Fred means world peace. Some of you have heard me say that, I suppose. I love to say that. More about that in a minute. Here's my disclaimer. I might say something today that would be worthwhile to you. How about that for a disclaimer? Pretty big-headed, I suppose, but it's a good one, I think. Next slide. You know, there's just one thing. Some of you folks think there's more than one thing. I'm going to talk about it today. There's just one thing. You know that spaceship that's going up today with Richard Branson on it? You know the name of that spaceship? Unity. I love it. Isn't that great? Well, there was a film called The City Slickers. Mitch, played by Billy Crystal, was trying to find himself. There he was in a midlife crisis. He was a big success in New York City, had a lot of money. A friend of his said, why don't you go out to a dude ranch somewhere and maybe find yourself and have a vacation? So he and his buddy go out there. By the way, I've changed the dialogue from the movie. It isn't exactly what's in the movie. You wouldn't want me to tell you what's exactly in the movie, but I've changed it for our purposes. You know, in Unity, we can do that. That's a wonderful thing, in my opinion. If you don't quite see what the Scripture says, I know I'm out here pretty far now, you can reword it and see what's going to work for you today. Then tomorrow, you can reword it again. I love that stuff. So I reworded this scene just a little bit. Mitch and his friend are out there at the Dude Ranch, and they wake up in the morning and they look out over at the corral there, and hanging on the corral is Curly. I want you to know that I got a hat. This is one of those Texas hats. This is 3 Beavers. I'm talking about a high-quality hat. Curly had a black hat on, leaning up on the corral. Now, Curly was played by a character that's sort of a mix between John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, and Jack Palance, all rolled together. Yeah, we still got it there. I don't smoke, but he did. Jack Palance plays the role. Now, Jack Palance's name was Volodymyr Palahniuk, a Ukrainian name. The Russian name is Vladimir. You may know Vladimir. Guess what that means? It means world peace. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I like that. Mitch and his friend walk up to Curly, and Curly's out there looking at the horizon. Now, out west, I'm talking west of the 100th meridian, if you know where that is. It's sort of in the middle of Texas. Out there isn't much of nothing except distance, and out there they got a lot of that. So Curly, like cowboys do, they look at the horizon because that's where they know things will come from, right? That's where everything comes from, out there where there's nothing but distance. Mitch says to Curly, "How you doing today, Curly? You killed anybody yet?" I left that one in. Curly looks out there at the distance. He says, he doesn't look at Mitch. He's looking at the distance. He says, "No, not yet. Day ain't over yet." Then Curly gestures. He knows what Mitch is looking for. Curly says, and here's the gesture. Learn this one. You'll see it again. There's just one thing. You know what Mitch says? He says, "Yeah, what is it?" Now that's playing couch potato. He's sitting there thinking that somebody's going to tell him what is just one thing. Like he has no idea what one thing is. Or maybe he's just being friendly. And Curly says, gesturing, this is where I made this up. You decide. You decide what the one thing is. What is the one thing? You decide. You don't sit around waiting for God to tell you what to do. That's backwards. You decide what you're going to do. The purpose of this story is free will personified. That's what I'm trying to say. Free will exists. You've got it. It's available all the time. You decide. That's it. I could quit now, but of course I won't. Number 2, let's get a little more serious perhaps. Unity is called practical Christianity. We used to hear that all the time. Uh-oh, don't need that anymore. What is practical Christianity? I used to listen to people tell me what practical Christianity was, and I went home wondering, what is practical Christianity? I didn't know what that would be. Here is a thought about what is practical Christianity. By the way, it comes from Charles Fillmore. He said what he thought or believed or decided practical Christianity was. Practical Christianity is extremely simple. It means being spiritual, in my view, being spiritual the rest of the week, not just Sunday. What about Monday? What about Tuesday? Keep going all week long, something spiritual. Thinking of God during the week. What is our, can you tell me, important tool for practical Christianity? Thinking of God during the week? I brought one. The daily word. The daily word. If you read the daily word, you will become happy you read the daily word. It's very simple. That's all there is to it. I'm going to have to shorten my talk because I was going to talk the daily word for Friday, rest. I'm in favor of rest. When I get tired, I say, I need to rest. It's a spiritual activity. Let me rest. Okay, I say that. We had another daily word this week that I like a lot too, and I feel has needed some explanation, at least for me, it did. Grace. Remember Thursday? On Thursday, the daily word was grace. Oops, I'm preaching to the choir. I forgot about you guys. Sorry. I'd like to. Thursday's daily word was grace. Here's my interpretation of grace. Picture number 3, please. What is that? That is a picture of you got it right. That's a picture of a blank slate, a blank canvas. There's no picture on this blank canvas, but there's going to be. Grace is like that. Grace is a blank opportunity. It's always supplied to you, and if you choose the one thing you're going to do next, you might decide that you will paint a pretty picture. Now, this is an allegory about anything you decide to do. Let's take our opportunity of a blank canvas, decide the one thing we're going to do, and let's do it. For example, for an artist, there's the canvas, there are the brushes, there's the paint, there's a place and a time, there's air, there's sustenance. You actually have everything you need to begin. The universe is simply waiting for you to begin. That's it, okay? The art comes from you. You always have all of the inspiration available that you will ever need. It's right there, ready to go. That's grace. All right, now you are the producer. You take the action. You initiate. You move your feet. You don't wait. You begin. You paint, produce, adjust, improve. Continue. I didn't mean that personally. Anybody needs to improve. I do. Then you repeat, and then you succeed. Next scene, please. I was wondering how this scene would look. Isn't that dramatic? I think that's gorgeous. It's a Bierstadt, and it represents the Sierras, and it's allegorical. The mountains aren't really that tall, but I think it's a gorgeous picture to look at. If I had a $1,000 copy, I'd hang it up someplace. We don't carry our Bibles around here too much, but I'm going to do some spiritual referring. I like to do it. And when I refer something to you about out of the Bible, I never say the verse. I just have a hang-up about that. It makes it too complicated. I like to say the chapter, and that's it. So Matthew 21 says, or I say it says, remember I'm a unitic, success will be given to the person who bears the fruit. I got some advice to say this one too, and I like it. I don't know where it is in the Bible, although I do remember shaking dust off your feet. But move your feet toward your results. Get with it, get going. Quit waiting for inspiration. We'll talk about inspiration here in just a minute. Next subject. I think these subjects are coordinated. If there's just one thing, how could there be something else, right? So this is coordinated. Let's talk about prayer. There's a lot of talk about prayer. I hear it all the time, and I think about it. And I wonder, okay, now what? Pray? What should I say? What do I want? What will I do with the idea of prayer? Do you know that the unity movement includes 3 basic types of prayer? 3. How many people knew that? Well, you read my report. I sent him my stuff in order that, I wouldn't say something funny. Can you name them? No, you said you can't. How many don't know that there are 3? All right? How many are not going to respond to my survey in any way, shape, form, or fashion? Anybody? I thought you moved. Okay, that's good. Sometimes people say, I'm not going to respond. Oops, I guess I did. Okay. I believe that there is an undescribed yet somewhat implied amount of time lurking just below the surface that can be allocated to the 3 types of prayer. Undescribed, implied, lurking, murky lurkers, People who don't show a picture of themselves. Let's start with the 2%. It's recommended, I think, it's up to you, pick a number. About 2% of your prayer time might be spent in denials. We talk about denials a little bit. You've heard of denials. There's talk about denials. Denial, in my view, is a statement about what is not wanted. I don't want it, so I want to deny it, but I'm going to say it. I deny it. If you must make denials, cut down on the repeating of them, in my view. Don't pray more than about 2% of the time with denials. The issue is that the universe is so positive that thinking about not something will make you think of the something. Try this with me for a minute. Go into your meditative state, and I'm going to tell you not to think of something. Are you ready? Do not think of a tree. How'd that go? I usually think of a tree myself. It's an example of what a denial is. It's a prayer about something that you don't want, and the universe hears it a little differently than you believe. It hears, oh, okay, time to think about a tree. So it goes to the noun, not the adverb. Is that an adverb? I don't know. Second type of prayer is called affirmations. We talk about affirmations a lot, don't we? Oh, that's a statement about something that is desired. We want something, so we affirm. However, we teach it correctly all the time, but I think we don't get it quite right. Affirmations must be done properly. In the book of James, he says, you don't get your prayer because you pray amiss. You don't pray right. Avoid begging, beseeching, believing that you've had no answer to your prayer, and similar activities. Do not accept the fact that you prayed for something and didn't get it. Oh, man. Avoid the use of the quid pro quo. I had to look that up. Quid pro quo is sort of like in relationships, you get this a lot. Well, I did this, so you do that. I did something for you. It's your turn to do something for me. That's the quid pro quo. If you tell God that you will do something if he or it, I prefer it, will do something for you, you are doing the quid pro quo. By the way, God doesn't especially need you, just wants you. Okay? God is not going to be changed by your prayers. God is not going to be changed by your prayers. You think you change God? You don't change God. Prayers change you. So, formulate your prayers as though you are happy that the result has already been fulfilled. Let this cup pass from me. You may remember that one. Act like a privileged friend and a privileged child of God. And I'd like to use modern language here. And this is going to be a little tough for some of you, but give it a try. Act like you're a spoiled child of God. You want what you want, and you want it. That's how you pray and get what you're looking for. All right, I said 2% prayer, 16% prayer. That adds up to 18% of prayer. What is left? The third type of prayer, I recommend you spend 82% of your time doing the third type of prayer. Now, you might say, I think it ought to be 81. Fine, I don't care. There's just one thing. You decide, remember. The biggest time you should spend in your prayer time is called the silence. The silence. Do you know what silence is? That's where you shut up. Pardon me about the other modern language. That's about it. Silence is being quiet and listening. Now, I was confused for years. I thought listening would be I'd hear something. Nuh-uh. Listening is not, you don't hear something, although I did hear a couple things a couple times. I was straight at the time, too, as I recall. I don't know what. One time I heard, Frederick, Frederick. And I thought, nobody around. Listening is different from hearing. I'm going to talk to you about hearing versus listening. Usually you don't really hear a voice, but you just suddenly know something. You just know it. Why do you know it? Don't ask. How do you know it? Wasting time. There it is. You know it. That's it. Direct knowing. Directly you know stuff. Now, a more modern word might be hunches. Oh, I got a hunch. We're used to that, using that word. So pay attention to your hunches. Might be a good idea to do something about your hunches. Of course, you get to decide, don't you? Oh, yes, you do. Matthew 10, Mark 11, Mark 13 talks about the hunches. In order to enter the silence, you need to be quiet. You need to sit down, and this is not on Sunday. Sunday is entirely different from what I'm talking about. This is the rest of the week. Practical Christianity. You sit down somewhere. I recommend you close your eyes so you don't get distracted. And listen for your new hunch. And you will get what you want. This is not to be confused with sleeping, napping, doing something else. We're sitting there and we have quieted ourselves. We have shut up. And we are spending 82% of our prayer time during the weeks in silence. Absolutely silent. I had to do this during this talk. I kept thinking, what to call it, what to call it, what to call it, what to call it. I know, hunch. I'll tell them we're working with hunches. So that came from right there. All right, next picture, please. What is this? Well, you might say it's a picture painted of a Japanese maple tree, and I would agree with that, but there's more to it than that. That isn't just a picture. It's not what a camera would come up with, is it? It's a piece of artwork. What you're seeing here is the artist's conception of the tree's spiritual aura. Now, here we are looking at spirit directly back to a tree. I'm sort of a tree hugger, I admit. Do you give things? Do you know how to give? Do you know why to give? Do you have something you could give? You probably do have something that you could easily give. For example, you could plant a tree or something else. You could give money, you could give sustenance, you could give time, you could give energy. Do you know how to give? You receive a hunch, my recipe. And you take action. We've already talked about painting a picture. You take some action. You do not procrastinate. Okay, maybe we're going to give and maybe we're not, but we don't know quite yet. Why should we do this? Here's why you should do this. There is a reason you should give. It's to benefit yourself and others in the world. The reason it is important for you to give is to benefit yourself because it feels good. Thinking about giving is wonderful, but you don't get the brownie points until you really physically give. That is when you get the newly released wonderful experience. In Unity, we have a term for it. It's the love offering. You offer something and you experience a lovely feeling in yourself. That's the love offering. It's an amount that creates a loving feeling in yourself. Amount or thing. Sometimes I talk dollars and sometimes I talk things. Whatever you give, whatever you can give, it will create a loving feeling in yourself. When it does, you know you've really done it right. The love part is inside of you. When this idea is actually accepted, every unity meeting and every unity activity and everything about unity will provide an opportunity to give every time. I'm talking about committee meetings. Pardon me, folks, but I want you choir to feel good. I think a love offering during every choir practice might be a good, interesting idea. See how it makes you feel. If you don't like it, you gave too much. Get some hunch going here and do it right. Have the love feeling. The whole universe will benefit, including you and aliens, I might add, if any. And guess what? Malachi says you're going to get it back. Now, maybe not exactly what you thought you were going to get back, but you're going to get back everything and more than you even need or expect. And it circles right back to grace, in my view. There you are, grace again. And guess where this comes from? It comes from the universe. Luke 6. Michael Brown talked about a unity book the other day, and I was delighted to hear him talk about that, and I'm going to add to it. Oops. Unity, 100 Years of Faith and Vision. This book, in case you wonder anything about unity, this book will take care of it. It explains the history, the philosophy, the concerns, the publishing, the extent. Good book. I have water up here, but I'm going to try to tough it out. In this book, on page 59, it says this, and you have to dig it out of the script. I had to find it. Yesterday, I went looking for it and it took quite a while. I think I am going to have some water. In this book, it says that wonders have occurred in lives when it is learned the following. 4 things. Here they are. To see without fear. To love without judgment. To have faith without evidence. And to give without anxiety about any return. Wonders occur in those lives that do that. Jump in. Participate. Be a part of that concept. Next slide, please. The 5 basic unity principles. I'm not going to stand up here and say I've talked about all of them. I've talked about some of them. My priorities, I suppose, I've carefully focused today on some unity principles and parts of the unity movement. That's a technical term to me. Unity movement. Very technical, very specific. It includes certain things. Here's a good statement right here about it. My personal fervent desire is to provide the teachings of the unity movement in the Charlotte area. Now, we can talk about other things, that's just fine. But I want to include the teachings of unity in the Charlotte area. The principles that I say I've covered is, number 1, understanding practical Christianity, which to me is going, for starters, is going to mean reading the daily word on a daily basis. Prayer, the silence, with a little bit of affirmation and a little bit of denial. The 5 principles of unity, you can see them on the slide. Read them if you like. And I've given what I think is a very simple description of what practical Christianity is. Something you can accomplish, something you can do. You know, there's just one thing. Just one thing. Don't get the idea there's more than one thing. If you do, you get confused and you don't know what to do next. Focus on just one thing. Probably the next thing. It's up to you. You tell me what it is. Just one thing. You decide. Here at Unity of Charlotte, we call it unity. Put that in the can, Alan.
Thank you, Fred. Well, that was marvelous. That was a terrific talk. They should show that one in ministerial training because you covered it all. Beautifully done.
Just one.
He even had fabulous props. So we so appreciate that. And what a marvelous message because it really covered so many important things. And I hope for you, it certainly was true for me, things that I will be thinking about today and this week. Practical Christianity. Thank you for that. All right. We now move into our offertory. I do want to make one comment. I misspoke. Our next week is our town hall meeting. So I put myself out another week. I don't know why I did that. But next week, be here because it'll be better to be here in person than trying to zoom in on this. Just my suggestion for you, if you can. So for our offertory, I do want to mention that I thought that Fred covered that so beautifully. When you give, our spiritual principle is you give for yourself. I once had a minister say to me, I don't care what you give. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But here's the thing. However you handle this, it comes back to you. And boy, did I remember that. What a beautiful message. So however you live your life, live generously and do be generous, especially to yourself in how you do it. There's an easy way if you are contributing to Unity of Charlotte, as you are contributing, you can use your cell phone and go to the website and click on the donate. And I did that throughout COVID. You can also write your check and put it in the mail to 401 East Arrowwood, Charlotte 28217, or bring your offering with you. So we are always so appreciative for how you use unity principles to enrich your own life. That's why we're here, to enrich our own lives and to do that for one another. So I'm going to suggest that you hold, either metaphorically or in reality, what you are contributing, time, talent, and other prosperity. And hold it to your heart and join with me in saying our prosperity blessing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing that the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive. Thank you, God. We are going to close with our prayer of protection, and that will lead us into our peace song. And just as a reminder for all of you, we do our Seek community meets right after this meeting, and so we have to move very quickly to move the chairs over to the sides, and those that are stackers will stack them in place. And I suggest to you, save your conversation, don't talk here. Go to the Unity Room and chat with your friends. That is the place and the time. And if somebody forgets because they're so excited to see you, just say to them, shh, Unity Room. So that's how we'll conduct following the peace song. Join with me in the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.